All right, Sean Bormet, 5 questions. We're coming to the end of the Big Ten dual season. We've got Michigan State this weekend. You're coming off a tough one against top-ranked Penn State. What are some takeaways from that dual meet?
Yeah, I mean, obviously tough duel. Penn State, obviously they're top team for a reason, and we haven't seen too many teams bring a lot of offensive firepower in the duels with them this year. It was a sort of a tough duel competitively, but when I really started to dig into each match, I felt like our lightweights, were outmatched significantly in a few of these weights, and our lightweights I felt really sort of battled very well. It's just they sort of only sustained that for about 4.5 minutes of the match, and then they started to fall off a little bit in the hand fight, and it started to give their opponents more opportunities to get in and score, and then Christian Taniflu actually fought off some great leg attacks, and he wrestled a really tough match. But he sort of, there's a little lack of experience in that situation where, his opponents sort of baited him into a slow stand-up position. He got cradled. And it's a little lack of experience of, sort of getting baited into that. But prior to that, I thought he was competing really well. Really fought off some attacks and was competing at the level we're looking for. Going into that match, there were a couple of things, obviously competitively, that in some of the matches we were overmatched. I wanted to just see us compete as hard as we could in all the positions, really compete. We knew, all the scoring was going to boil down to controlling ties, not letting them control ties, because that's where all the action starts. And if we're not controlling ties enough, we're not going to get to enough for our own attacks, and that was clearly the case. And then we started to run into a bunch of those number one ranked guys in the upper weights, and again, same with like for example, like Bonnet Mantinona's match. I mean, it was 3-1 at the end of that first period, and he was defending stuff really well, but over time he just wasn't able to get enough control ties to get to his offense and start really threatening. And it's a great opportunity in terms of just that environment. We talked a lot about that environment. The one thing I liked, our guys really embraced, and they were excited to compete. I know that wasn't a reflection of scoring, and it wasn't a reflection of matches we won. On paper, we were favored to win one bout. Jacob Cardenas, 197. Was in a real dogfight of a match. Came down to that sudden victory ride-out situation. He had that locked up. It was just a little mental error. He was hanging on, rolling. Didn't need to be in that position. He knew better. He was shaking his head coming off the mat. Just a little bit of a mental error. Instead of riding and keeping the weight forward, or just cutting the guy at that point. But the things we got to really focus on was just, again, motion with him and getting to more scoring opportunities in that match, so you're not in that situation. But, there were definitely some takeaways. I felt like the guys competed, given some of these weights we were outmatched, but it didn't make it any less tough to sit. When you're looking for your guys to be able to get to some leg attacks and get to some scores and get to some finishes and get your hand raised. So great opportunity to compete in that environment, though, because it really sets the tone for Big Tens, NCAAs. They do have a great wrestling environment. It's what we're working on here. It's what we continue to work towards and build here. Similar to when we had that Ohio State crowd this year, like those are the things we're building, and that's where we need to be, to continue to attract top recruits. They want to wrestle in front of a great crowd with that kind of environment, and I was just glad to see our guys were really excited to compete that night in that kind of arena.
So what do you take back into the room after a duel like that? Obviously you kind of duel by duel, week by week, you learn things to work on. What did you come back and start working on back in the room this week?
I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff, and we've been working on most of these areas. Like, we've seen them as a staff, we've seen them, and the thing that was a little different when we came back, and even that after that duel in the locker room, but when we got back, we sort of had our guys do an evaluation of their matches where they actually watched them and watched all the specific things we have talked about, all the specific things we talk about in training. And I think one of the things that was a little different is in these evaluations, our guys connected with it and recognized that they were talking about it. They recognized some of these glaring things that we talked about. And in their evaluations, there were common themes, 6, 7, 8 of these themes, and they're all critical things that are so important to the intensity, the positions you need to maintain, not holding ties and moving guys and constantly looking for scoring opportunities and pursuing the next position. But the connection was different, because when they make the connection, then you can start to make progress, and then you can start to make the adjustments. So it's actually been a really good week. Monday, Tuesday, great training days. Guys are going hard. We started to make a shift. So I thought the response was really good.
All right, so you talk about that shift in training. We only got 2 duels left. We only got 4 total weekends left, kind of spread over 6 weeks. What do you kind of start shifting in the practice room?
It's time to pull everything together. I mean, the things we're working on, we're shifting in terms of a peaking phase, in terms of just continuing to refine energy systems and making sure the guys are as explosive and really are clear in their thinking and where their go-to attacks are, and how to address certain positions on the mat, and winning whistles, from top and bottom. Just a lot of little things and a lot of emphasis on individual work as we continue to move into this last, basically like 3 weeks out from the Big Ten. So that's the most exciting time of the year, and we actually have a great schedule, because now we have Michigan State. It's basically an hour away, so it's not a lot of travel. We got a full week of training. Same thing next week, full week of training. Central Michigan on Sunday. So the training block we have right now is very valuable, and we're just looking to make the very most of it.
What do you want to see in these last 2 duels?
Just continue to try to dominate hand fights. Win ties so we can get to our attacks. The setup part, controlling those ties, the motion we use, and then exploding through finishes. Basically things we've been working on but continue to improve. That excitement for this postseason is really important, and you need to see that in every training session, because the way they're preparing, the way they're thinking, the way they come in with energy and intensity and excitement, that's really going to dictate the progress we need to continue to make between now and the Big Ten championships. And and then obviously the Michigan State duel, we want to see domination in terms of ties, attack rates, scoring, finishing. Complete 7 minutes of hard wrestling with a lot of consistency. And then obviously that Central Michigan duel back home, our final duel. It's also senior night, so really excited to honor some great seniors that we've had in our program, and finish this duel season with a home match.
All right, like quick shifting gears. Mock Rock's coming up. Obviously, really strong Michigan ties. It was created 26 years ago to honor late Jeff Reese. Do you think that, this program does a good job of, A, participating, but B, kind of educating our guys into how much this means to the wrestling program?
Yeah, we do. We are close to that with Jeff being one of our wrestlers, and that event being built around Jeff. We also have, like right now, we have one of Jeff's teammates' son is on the team, and he's a freshman. He'll be participating in Mock Rock with Cam Catcherbone, and so there's an extra component of how meaningful it is this year, and it gives me an opportunity to really talk about it a little more with our guys, which I'm going to continue to do. We're about a week out now, but I also like the time of year it is, because it also gives us an opportunity to just sort of lighten up the tone in different ways. And the freshmen are working on their skit and their performance, so I'm hoping that we'll get a sneak peek as a team before the actual Mock Rock. But all the teams at Michigan, I feel like, do a really good job, and I think this year I've seen a big emphasis on Mock Rock. I think sort of some renewed excitement for the event, and just the way they're participating. All the funds are going to Mott's Children's Hospital, which I think is obviously very meaningful to many people in our community here. And I think it resonates with a lot of our student athletes, because a lot of them go up and visit the children at Mott's Children's Hospital throughout the year. And so it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see what our guys put together.
All right, Sean, thank you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.